What's up, everybody? I'm Eric.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Rarity Games podcast number 3. And we have a ton to talk about from this past week. We're a little late on getting the podcast up, so much going on. We had a great time this weekend at Halo Outpost Discovery. And it was an awesome little event. And then, of course, Marvel Ultimate Alliance came out. So much going on. So much other small tidbit news to talk about. And, I just want to get right into it and let you guys know how this awesome event was at Halo Outpost Discovery. Chris, you got anything on this?
Yeah, we went to the Philadelphia event. It was very cool. They had some really nice stuff. They had some stuff that was a little, felt a little like E3 or PAX. It was cool.
Yeah.
I think they could have had some more things, but being that this was the first event for this kind of thing, like I think they saw like Guardian Con and what they've been doing with Destiny, and they were like, hey, maybe we should try and do something like that for Halo, considering we're trying to launch Halo Infinite. And I think it had some successes and it had some opportunities. I think they had some mechanical problems throughout. Like, I know the escape room was broken for half the time we were there. We were there about, what, 6 hours, something like that?
Roughly, yeah. I mean, enough time to check pretty much everything out that we wanted to check out.
Yeah.
It was really cool. But like you said, like a few things. Like, obviously, it was their first go at something like this. Yeah. And it was a small event for us, a good little, thing to check out. And there's something different. And it was definitely cool. It was almost like a Halo museum more than it was an event or anything like that. Like, it was like for true Halo fans to come check out like some more lore and some cool stuff.
Everything was integrated very heavily with an app that they made that had like AR camera stuff. So when you would go to scan, say, a display of Master Chief, when you showed information behind him printed on the wall, it also showed like a hologram that was him spinning.
Yeah.
Or like another one was like the assault rifle and some of the weapons and some of the spaceships.
Yeah, it was pretty cool though.
It was very cool. If you are a genuine Halo fan, it was cool. Some of the other awesome things, the laser tag on, what did they call it? The battle deck, I believe. That was really awesome. The lines weren't too overly long. The longest were the VR. VR had about a 90-minute plus wait, so we decided to do everything else except the VR. It seemed like a good idea, but as we were getting ready to leave, there was still a very long line, so we decided to skip that. It looked cool. They had monitors set up outside where you can observe the matches of other people playing. It looked nice. It looked like you were kind of like duck and cover and had a VR type wand. It was some kind of customized. It looked like a Vive rig. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
The HTC Vive.
I mean, it was an HTC Vive, but just had this Omen backpack on it, and like for, I guess, hit detection, and I'm not sure exactly what they're going, because you were in the same room with people.
I think the backpack honestly literally was more battery than anything else.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really cool stuff there, like the laser tag, for example, which just popped up on the screen. That was awesome. The guns that were cool, they were really cool, and then they had a real reticle, like a legitimate red dot that you could switch the setting on.
Modify it to the circle. That was the one that arguably we would have done more than once. It was very fun.
Yeah.
The line wasn't very long here in Philadelphia. We went on the first day, a Friday.
Yeah.
So I imagine some people were still at work. I know the Saturday, the next day, sold out. But it was very cool. They had the Pelican training simulation, which was more or less you get into this shipping crate, this kind of themed like ride, and they had a video play, and then it kind of rumbled and moved around, and it was cool, but it was nothing really fantastic. If we were 10, 12,
I would have loved this place.
It probably would have been much cooler. They did also have, for the younger kids as well, they had the Mega Constructs, the Halo themed building toy Lego like things, and they were cool. They had a lot of displays, a lot of cool stuff, some collections and pictures and all that. It was nice.
I'd say some of the best things that we got to see though were like the voice actors and stuff being on stage and talking to everybody about
they
had
the voice actors for Master Chief and Cortana.
Yes, and they had a couple others and like some people that worked on the game, and then they had this awesome ring experience. So you go through and get to see like different statues and stuff that while listening to a audio recording.
Yeah,
and they were almost acting as if you were in like a UNSC museum, and then you go into this like almost mini IMAX room with projectors on the ceiling, aim into the ceiling, and you get to like see this awesome video that was crazy to just check out in general, because you're flying through space basically around the ring.
Yeah, I think that was arguably one of the coolest bits. They hired actors to like memorize a little shtick that they were like scientists and historians walking you through
and
everything.
And us sneaking into that line at the right time, right when the voice actors were about to get off stage, instead of waiting around, and we got right in there and got in line, and it was a 2-minute wait instead of the 60 to 90-minute wait it was before.
I think everyone should definitely check that out. They don't really want us to reveal too much about the ending, but it's definitely worth going through the 3D simulation that they do with a multiple projector setup on a dome.
That was awesome.
It was really one of the highlights of it for me.
Yeah.
It was really one of the highlights for me.
And that was cool to get out of there as well. And then we walked towards a panel where the guy who helped create the ring experience and that movie and everything was on stage talking about all the stuff, and you even got to ask him a question or two.
Yeah, he was talking about how like the network engineering and the infrastructure needed to like render something in a 3D projected landscape like that, what it took, what they had to do, and not only that, but some of the systems and some of the things that they were putting into the back end of how they develop. So it was very interesting. I believe they streamed it on Mixer. They had a bunch of Mixer segments going for when they had Cortana and the Master Chief voice actors talking and taking fan questions, which was very cool. I also personally enjoyed they had some of the LAN parties there for Master Chief Collection on PC in various modes. I think they had Halo 2, Halo 3. They were running Halo 5 Guardians. So it was really cool. It definitely was a fan event. They had also a lot of smaller off to the side cosplay instructions on how to, like, if you wanted to make your own like kits, like what type of foam you would use, where you could go for that, types of paints. They were taking audience questions. The day we went, as we said, it wasn't super crowded. It was very intimate. You could very easily walk up and hold a conversation with somebody. You can compliment somebody, hey, awesome armor. Like, it totally felt like a smaller fan event. I don't know if that's necessarily what they were aiming for with Microsoft and the company that they partnered with to put it on. I think, like I said, they were trying to aim for a Guardian Con. I think they were trying to aim for something bigger.
Yeah, but I mean, even Guardian Con, from what I've heard, is only around like 5,000-7,000, something like that. A lot of the time, it varies from place to place, I'm sure. But like this was. What would you say, 2,000 throughout the day around that?
Well, we weren't there for the super beginning. We got there like 2 hours late. We weren't really trying to wait in line. It was a heat wave in Philadelphia that weekend, so we had to wait a couple hours. We got there around 3 o'clock, and we stayed till about 8, wasn't it? Something like that?
Roughly, yeah, something like that. But it was, I mean, like I said, we spent enough time there to try out everything we wanted to try out without waiting in 2-hour lines. I'd say one of the best experiences there, not to completely hate on the event, but it was us playing the Switch, waiting in line for laser tag. I got Ultimate Alliance 3, and I stuck that bad boy in my backpack facing us, and I gave him a Joy-Con, and there we are, rocking out in line.
We had our own Nintendo like roof tech party moment.
Dude, the guys behind us were like leaning over like, hey, who are these guys playing? That's pretty cool. Like, you could tell they were like, damn, I wish I would have brought my Switch.
So one of the highlights for me, speaking of gaming, not exclusive to the Halo Outpost Discovery thing, it's at Dave & Buster's. It was the Halo Operation Raven, I believe,
that thing was awesome.
Fire Team Raven, that's what it was.
It's at Dave & Buster's. If you go there at all, check this thing out. It was pretty fun. Like,
so we
got to play for free, but
they did have a 4-player version that was not there at the event. They had multiple 2-player setups here at the event. So it's kind of House of the Dead style, where you have a gun in front of you and you're a certain color, and there's a reticle moving across 2 very large screens that are side by side, and you can cross to your partner's screen, and your partner can cross to your screen, and you're mowing down kind of an on-rail shooter style, and it was really fun. We got probably halfway through the game in about course of what, like a half hour, 25 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, about that.
And it was really fun. As part of the event, we didn't have to pay for lives and deaths and all that. It looked like it could get expensive at Dave and Buster's if you were to try and run through that game.
100%. Like we only died twice, I think, out of the two huge levels we played. We died once each level. But but that's an extra few bucks right there.
I think it was
definitely worth checking out either way.
Don't quote me, but what the machine looked like with the stickers and stuff like that, it looked like it was $5 a life. So that can get real expensive real quick after you're drinking
crazy now.
After you're drinking $10 beers.
Yeah, true. But it was overall, I'd say it was a good event for a first time thing that that Microsoft's putting together. I think they would have benefited from having more of all the stations. Say 2 ring experiences, 2 Pelicans, 2 escape rooms, instead of having one and having people wait there for so long.
Sure, and that being said, the Philadelphia Convention Center is very large inside. It almost feels like there could have been more room for more stuff. There was very large gaps. There was more than enough room to walking around. It wasn't a traditional convention or like market where like you're kind of, I don't want to say almost shoulder to shoulder.
4 vendors? 5 vendors there at the most that were outside vendors?
I would say there was outside vendors. Yeah, there was only about 4 or 5 outside vendors, but you could tell vendors that traveled with the show kind of thing.
Yeah,
and there was
total. I just wish there was more stuff around.
Total, there was only probably about like maybe 8 to 10.
And
max.
That could be exclusive to the Philly area because we don't see too many events like this, so it could be a little different for some of these kind of things where they're like, oh, well, Philly's not a big market for this. And
the closest thing that we have is PAX Unplugged in the wintertime, the tabletop convention.
Yeah, and I'm glad stuff like that's starting to come more to our city.
And that also, I think, fills the space a lot better and surprisingly generates a larger crowd.
Yeah.
So I think
Philly has a good growing gaming like community around now.
And I think what's ending up happening is you're getting the people that are shooting for that mid-range thing, like we discussed Guardian Con, where like you want something that's like an attraction or an event, but you don't want to go to New York. You don't want something that's expensive and overwhelming. I think we see people. One of the guys that was talking behind us said he was from DC. So like that's only 90 minutes away from us if you're not familiar with the East Coast. So it's another big city that's not necessarily too far away. And I think that's what they're shooting is for that like central community stuff. I know we saw a lot of people from Jersey, the tri-state area. So. But overall, I would definitely recommend it if it's coming to your area, checking it out. I would say only get a one-day ticket. It's $60 for a one-day ticket. The 3-day pass doesn't...
I felt bad for people that bought the 3-day VIP. I really did. Like, it was just like, there's not enough.
It was unnecessary.
For 3 days. If you go for 2, I could understand if you wanted to really were into it. But 3 is like really.
If you have a group of friends and you were like a cosplayer or you were super into like the armor and stuff like that, I can totally see how you can make it like a weekend, like getting pictures, because there was a lot of people getting pictures and stuff like that. But in general, the 3-day pass for the amount of rides and stuff they had, the only thing
very much.
I could be mistaken. The only thing the 3-day pass more or less seemed to guarantee you was the signature and the one-on-one set or the small group sessions with the Master Chief voice actor and the Cortana voice actor. That seemed like the only thing you really got guaranteed with the 3-day pass, which if you're super into it, I'm glad that opportunity's there, but for the average Halo fan, it was completely unnecessary. Yeah. 1 day is all you really need, and that's what I'd recommend. But that being said, go check it out. It was fun.
If it's in your city, I would say it's worth it for the price. It's definitely fun. But it's not. Don't expect some great convention or anything. Go there expecting for a Halo experience and like very much strictly that.
Think of like going almost to like one of those like haunted hay rides or big haunted house like fair convention type things. It's almost like that. It was a nice day thing. It was a nice thing for like 4 or 5 hours. Like it's something to do. Yep. But it wasn't going to change the world. I would like to see Microsoft expand on it a little bit more next year.
Yes,
like you said, a couple more rides.
With Infinite coming out eventually too, sure. we might see that might be why they're doing this in the first place. Because they're planning multiplayer style things.
They're trying to engage the community, and I think it was a nice first attempt. But I'd like to see it improved. But like, I'm along for the ride. Let's see what happens next year.
Yeah, and I want to try and get into more of these kinds of events anyway. In general, it's nice to see them come into our city. Why not show the people throwing the event that we will show up for it. Like, you have to. If you're not going, then other people won't come.
Yeah.
So, and but overall, yeah, Halo Outpost was cool for the most part for everything. We may get into another video about it if you guys are interested in seeing more about it at all. Let us know. We have a lot of stuff. We plan on making something about it, but
we recorded a bunch of content while we were there. There was some cool stuff, so we might throw that up as like a quick 10-minute something.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Halo Outpost Discovery, while we were there, we were playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Yes, because that came out the exact same day.
Yeah. Oh man, this game is so great. I almost feel bad that Chris hasn't had the opportunity to get a copy yet with all the busyness. Played a good bit with me though.
Oh yeah, and it's special. It's a fun game.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's
so good. I already beat it within the first few days. I tore through it, but there's so much more to get into.
If you were a fan of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 or the old X-Men Legends on the Xbox, it's totally that same spiritual successor. It's that same game with just more and more and more.
It feels just like those games, and with a little bit more to them, especially the RPG style of leveling up.
Super button mashing, brawling, like trying to synchronize your attacks with either the AI or a partner you're playing with. It's fun, beat 'em up greatness. Yeah. It's that old Double Dragon NES feel, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. There's so much content in this one too. Like the campaign itself was definitely a little shorter than the previous games. But once you beat it, they immediately throw you into higher difficulty, and you unlock a ton of Infinity Rifts with a ton of extra missions that have modifiers and this and that on them. And then you get bonus the 3-star challenges. Mm-hmm. So each star has an individual challenge. One's just trials clearing it, trial cleared, done, and then the other 2 are like finish in a minute or 2, or finish with 100 kills instead of the 50 you need to clear it, like shit like that, and it'll give you so much more stuff when you finish those, and the more stars you're in, you unlock costumes through the Infinity Rifts.
Yeah, the customization is absolutely off the charts. Yeah, the replayability that they've built into it is off the charts.
Yeah, it's the game itself. It's a Marvel story.
Sure.
It's not the best story ever, but I actually really enjoyed it for what it was. The towards the halfway point onward, it gets really like, okay, I see what's happening here. This is very interesting now. Like the beginning's more I've heard a few people describe it as like, oh, this feels like an Avengers game almost. Like I'm getting in here with the MCU style Avengers, and we're gonna kill it, and with a few added characters. And then the game completely shifts to more than that.
And you bring up a really good point. I think we're seeing that with Marvel games in general right now, is that they're taking stories that we know from the comics, and they're kind of interpreting them differently than the movies are interpreting them and the comics interpret it. So you're taking its own unique slant on something, and I think that's really compelling.
Yeah.
Because as you even told to me, in the movies, the Black Order is kind of like, oh, they're enemies and they're tough bad guys, but they're kind of here and then they're disposed with. Whereas the game is showing it a different slant on the comic characters, where they're very much their own boss type guys that are hard to beat and keep coming back.
The way that a person that watches the movies would think of Thanos without the gauntlet, they're more like that, where it's like, Thanos will still destroy you without the gauntlet. That's how they feel in this game, and that's just the Black Order. And then you got Thanos lurking around the corner the whole game too, and it's like,
and all that
great.
All that plays into the need to have a team customized, and like really somebody that you're familiar with and the characters that you like, not necessarily just having a team based off of, oh, I like these Avengers, or oh, I like that. You can play that way, but that doesn't necessarily make the game easier playing that way. You want to find unique combinations. Like you said, what, you and a friend were playing?
Me and my buddy Drew were playing, and then Joey was hopping in with him as well. Very seamless multiplayer. Hop right in the lobby. I set up as a host because he was a little ahead of me in the game, so allow him to come down to my level, and he's like, all right, cool, I get to check out some other characters because we're playing the beginning again. So him and Joey hopped in, no problem. 2 Joy-Cons, smooth sailing. He gets to pick his characters, I get to pick mine. And it was great. It was fun. And then me and Drew throughout the weekend kept playing together. And we realized something which I wanted to mention, that he could only pick one character unless he had a second player with him on his Switch.
So on the second Switch.
Yeah, online only, it would be a little bit of an issue that, like, I had control of 3 of my characters, he had control of 1 of his. And it was like, man, I wish there was something we could do about this. So we go searching online, as you do, and we come up with nothing. And we troubleshoot a little bit, see if we can figure something out. And I came up with the bright idea to log in as he did with his friend. And it worked perfectly. Like, he logged in just like Joey was playing, got his character set up, and I said, just cut it now. Cut that Joy-Con and set up on one controller. Like, slide him into the adapter that sets up the 2 Joy-Cons together.
The grip?
It'll make it, the grip. And it'll make it one controller, and it should drop your player 3 for a computer, but hopefully they'll still be your computer.
So you
worked like a charm.
So you literally had to trick the system into doing what you wanted.
Yep, and but then it sticks with it throughout every match, every lobby. You go back, you're doing Infinity Trials, whatever. He has access to the 3rd slot now. He controls that character. He can switch in and out characters. He can now access their hero select. So I think they baked it into the game knowingly, but didn't really show you how to make that work properly. That shouldn't be a thing. Like, you should have a button to press on the 3rd character and go, hey, I want my friend to have access to this. Let him pick his character instead of being stuck with only one.
And that's one of those things, if they engage with the Reddit community, I imagine they'll see that and maybe put that in a future update.
Yeah, I posted it up on Reddit, and it got for one of the first times ever, my post went through the roof. I got 100 upvotes on it, and everybody was like, "Oh, thank God you figured this out," and asking me questions on how to do it.
Yeah.
And I posted a whole tutorial on the page, and I'm hoping that I'm hoping it helped a few people figure it out, because there was nothing else online. Maybe they run a search, they can find it, and then also hoping that the developers are like, "Oh, duh, why didn't we just do this instead?"
So, seeing that you've already completed the campaign, you said it took you about, 12 hours, 15 hours, somewhere in there?
Yeah, and we paced ourselves a little bit.
Okay.
I would say more towards 15-ish hours, and, it was great, though. It didn't feel fast.
Okay, so
even though
it was fluid, you kind of just rolled.
And you're watching it, and, you want to watch the cutscenes. They were awesome.
The cutscenes are...
attention to everything. It was really... It felt like, it felt like a good comic book.
Yeah.
It felt like a good, husky couple issue comic book, and you ran through, and that's the size of the story roughly. The ending was good, twist and turny. It was really, I don't want to give away anything by saying too much. It's kind of an odd, once you get there, you kind of know.
It's a comic book. It'll have twists and turns.
Yeah, it's cool. It was really interesting. They brought in some characters that a lot of people won't be familiar with for the ending, and not just the Black Order, not just Thanos, but people that are familiar to those characters
in the Marvel universe,
and it maybe MCU people would not be familiar with. So it's pretty interesting how they made it all work and flow together, because you go from the raft to that which is Spider-Man's prison, essentially, where his enemies are of New York, and then you go to I'm drawing a blank on the second area. You're on a Kree ship for the tutorial, then you're in the raft, then you go throughout the some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff.
Well,
and then
we don't want to give away too much.
No, I just want to say it goes quickly into jumping from an Earth game to a space game.
Well, there's space characters in it, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's where I was getting at with that. It's as soon as you get to you're feeling comfortable. As soon as you feel comfortable in the game, they're like, hey, guess what? You're going to space, and they take you to some awesome places that it's really cool to wander around in those areas.
Well, speaking of that, it's a little bit of a quick story. It wouldn't surprise me at all that they're bringing out some kind of story-based content with the DLC.
I'm really hoping that they stick with some story.
They've announced a bunch of characters that are coming with the DLCs. If you pull that up. So Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 releases Marvel Knights DLC in September. We are on comicbook.com, and it looks like they're saying September 30th is the Marvel Knights pack, Curse of the Vampire. So the semicolon makes me think it is going to be story based, because they need to have.
It says it right here. Actually, I didn't know they actually announced the It says, we know now you'll be able to add even more heroes to the game, along with another story to complete. The first of several DLCs that are releasing is called Marvel Knights Curse of the Vampire, and it's scheduled to release on September 30th.
Yeah, because they need something to justify bringing in kind of the different character set. Like, they're bringing in Blade, Moon Knight.
Yeah, mixing Morbius and Blade is a cool concept.
And Punisher.
And then they add in Punisher and Moon Knight into that story, and it'd be pretty... That's pretty cool, because I could see you, like, kind of going through a little section to get Moon Knight, little section to get Punisher.
Well, not only that...
And then you finally meet up with Blade, and then you hunt down Morbius. Like, you know, something along those lines.
If you do a lot of, like, the melee weapon characters grouped together, like Blade and Gamora and stuff like that, it could totally end up being a nice powerhouse. Or even a bunch of the shooters end up like Star-Lord and Punisher and that kind of thing.
And this game, which I wanted to get into a little more before we finish up with this, is the like he just mentioned, the whole linking certain characters together is incredible in this game. It's so RPG-esque. And the squad like this is going to have so many bonuses together, and I believe they're all like lurkers of the night and like stuff like that.
Well, they call it like a team-up bonus, and you see actual attributes, and if you group the attributes together, you get like the team bonus on top of the individual like relationship bonus they have.
Yeah, they have anything, like even the Women of Marvel like is a bonus. So like there's everything you can think of, from Generations to New Avengers to Old Avengers to Classic to X-Men, X-Force, like they're all bonuses. If a character has been on that team, they bonus with another person that's on that team.
And they did the pre-order bonus of Deadpool, right?
Well, no, I'm just talking that's for no, not even a pre-order bonus.
Is it just with the pass?
No, it's when you buy the expansion pass. But not to get too off topic, that's a separate thing with outfits. But the team bonus goes from that, and that's nice and cool that you get to tag all that together, but that's like very small amount compared to the lab and ISO 8. So like there's a huge leveling up base in that alone. The lab has tons, almost like a Final Fantasy sphere. What's it called?
Oh, like the grid system.
The grid sphere or whatever. It's like it's insane how many level ups you can do.
It almost looks like a series of webs that are like
and it's
interlinking.
A separate leveling up system. You earn your XP for your characters. You also earn AEP, which goes towards the lab like skill points you would get, or skill like bonuses, I guess you would get. And then you get your ISO 8s, and you can like break those down and make dust or collect dust and then upgrade them as you go. And then you also get your abilities on each character that come with AP. And there's so much. And like, as I heard Greg Miller from Kind of Funny, he said, this game is so nerdy. There's so much to it. And it's awesome. Like, you can go forever and ever, and it's a grind, but it's so fun. You want to grind. You want to go through the rifts. You want to unlock the outfits. You want to unlock all the bonuses, because you get XP cubes. And then when you stack a bunch of XP cubes, when you've been grinding with this one team, well, you can take all those XP cubes and start a whole new team and boost them all the way up. And it becomes this great RPG that you just keep going. And not to mention the extra difficulties that you get after you beat Mighty Mode, then Superior, then Ultimate. You have to unlock them for beating the game. So, and then apparently you unlock more rifts when you beat them in Superior and in Ultimate.
Well, and
that's a lot more levels and a lot more gameplay to go after beating the game.
You have the Infinity Challenges as well, correct?
That's what I was just mentioning. Yeah, and the rifts are insane. There's like 20 to 30 missions in each rift.
I was also just reading they've decided to add as free DLC Cyclops and Colossus as characters as well.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
As free DLC.
Free
a
DLC.
Month before the DLC. Both Cyclops and Colossus will come as free DLC. Wow. So that's next month.
Yeah, they're stepping it up.
Because they added Loki on launch. And Loki was not an announced character, was not shown in anything, not in the treehouse, none of that. And then they added him, and the only way to get him is by basically beating the game, having level 40 plus characters, and beating his rift. And you get to the end of his rift, and he's level 45. You got to beat him and 4 other bosses in a fight to unlock him.
And I think that this game is also filling a gap from the previous canceled Marvel online game.
Yeah, it's very true, too. That game was a little weird. But
it was fun to run through, and kind of it filled that gap of not really having one of these Marvel super universe, every character beat 'em up kind of games. So
Switch published this too, which a lot of people may not know.
Well, Nintendo,
Switch, sorry. Nintendo published this. themselves and put the money up for it and got this thing made.
That's
so
why
now
it's the
an
exclusive.
and that's awesome to see Nintendo recognize an old classic and go, oh, no one's doing anything with this? Like, let us scoop that up. That'll be perfect for the Switch.
Well, and it's getting to the point also where, speaking of perfect for the Switch, we need to look at the power of the Switch, because, like, this style of game with the cell shading that looks really good, almost, I don't want to say Breath of the Wild-esque, but that, like, kind of varied art style works really well on the Switch, because it doesn't necessarily have the power that the Xbox or the PS4 has. So those stylized games are really meant to work well on here, performance-wise. Speaking of performance-wise, I was doing a little bit of digging, and it still worries me that The Witcher is going to be running at 540p on the Switch Lite, which is going to be a very popular system. That seems like it's just an inferior version of a $60 game to me, but not to go off on a tangent.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, though. It's definitely a weird thing to have something like that, and it just...
That's one of those things.
I get it. I get why they said they made a promise. CD Projekt Red said we're gonna put Witcher on the Switch, and if you say that and then you don't do it, it's a thing.
And I totally respect them for doing it. I thought they meant The Witcher 2 first, personally, and then putting this out there like that and only being 720p and docked totally makes me feel that there will at some point be a Switch Pro or a Switch XL or some kind of updated version of the Switch to have this game run properly. Because much like we saw with the 3DS and the new 3DS, where they added the little C-stick and only certain games could run at like a higher frame rate. And
I know.
You know what I mean? So Nintendo does have history of like coming out with variations, and hopefully they'll come out with something for the horsepower games like these, because I would love to see a version of Breath of the Wild in a higher resolution, or even Mario Odyssey in a higher resolution, and Witcher deserves to be treated with that like 1080p qualityness. So we'll see what shakes out. But speaking of things coming out of Comic-Con, to loop back around.
Wait, before we're done with the Ultimate Alliance topic.
Okay.
Get the damn game. If you, I'm serious, it's so good. And like some people would say, like you're not so Marvel fan, or you're not like Diablo-esque style of game fan. They'll probably give it around, still a 7-8 score, like somewhere as a good game. I gotta give it like a 9 at least.
Yeah.
And the only reason it's not a 9.5, 10 is because of the it could have been longer, the game story itself, and
sure.
But otherwise, them updating the game, giving us free DLC, and giving us paid DLC for cheap, it was only $20 for 4 character and story DLC packs. There's a lot there that is just great. That game deserves a better score than a 7-8. And I've seen a lot of people give it.
I'm not nearly as far into it as you. I've only played maybe like 2 hours, give or take. It's a fun game. It's a great game. I would easily, at this early stage, only give it like an 8.5, just for certain little technical things. I do feel what you're saying about the story.
It could be better, of course, but for what it is, the depth going into that game is great.
Sure, I do feel it could use a little bit more story from what you've been describing to me, kind of off to the side. But more importantly, I think just little things of the genre it still suffers from that previous games suffer from, like getting stuck in a corner, the camera not necessarily panning the way you want to.
Yeah, we encountered that
at the right moment.
Yeah.
And that's something that
I didn't have it happen a lot, though.
No, but the other games suffer from it as well.
Yes.
And you feel like it's 2019. We're comparing it to games from 2006. Like there should have been slight mechanical improvements here or there that I know are hard to work around given the definitions of the genre. But they should have some kind of quick pan or something to deal with getting boxed in. But
of course,
that's a minor gripe. But anyway.
Yeah, but overall, this is if you have a Switch, it's a must-have. If you don't have a Switch, it's a game that if you plan on getting one, that you should get right away. Especially if you want something co-op like this. The Switch needed something like this really bad. It had a few games that were similar, but usually they're like shoot 'em up type games or there's a few Magic ones, but they're never on a good grand scale of replayability and all that, and this game does that perfectly.
So for me, the Switch is developing this awesome little pile of exclusives that aren't first party, that are still amazing games. You look at like Octopath Traveler, an amazing game, came out not too long after launch from Square Enix, exclusive to the Switch, except now it finally just recently launched on PC.
Yeah.
You look at Marvel Ultimate Alliance, another game that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily buy a Switch for this game, but if you have a Switch, because they have that huge install base now, it's definitely a game you should pick up.
But it's also another game for people that don't have a Switch to go, damn, another one? Yeah. I kind of want to play that too.
So when I got my Switch, there was Mario Odyssey and there was Zelda Breath of the Wild. Those were the two games, and they were great, and that's awesome. But there was a gap in time in which I didn't really pay the Switch, and then a lot of the indies, a lot of the independent titles that were coming digitally that people were so hungry for, because at the launch there wasn't a huge amount of games. But now we're coming up on 2-3 years, and we're really starting to see a huge amount of reasons to get a Switch. Not to be,
very many.
A super Switch fan, but it's definitely
I was
awesome,
gonna say it seems
platform.
like we're almost on a Switch YouTube channel at this point, but it's just because lately I said it in I think our first podcast that we did that it seems like lately, even especially after seeing E3, it's like this year is the Switch's year for the most part, especially with PS4 and Xbox One backing down a little bit because the console generation's about to flip for them.
It's just the cycle of the life cycle itself.
And it's a great time for Nintendo to hit snag some people up and get some new consumers.
To really hit their stride in the generation. And it's really good to see after they were struggling with the Wii U. Yeah. But moving along, we're going to talk about some of the Marvel news coming out of Comic-Con real quick.
Oh, boy.
They announced
so much.
A whole slate of movies for Phase 4 and a large amount of projects for the streaming service that they're going to be launching, I believe, this November, if I'm not mistaken. We'll dig through the article a little bit and figure it out.
Yeah.
But it looks like the first one is going to be Black Widow, which is supposed to be coming in May of 2020.
Yeah, as we've heard, of course, guys. But I mean, this is awesome that they gave us so much of a breakdown of everything after Black Widow.
And spoilers, not really spoilers at this point. It's going to be a prequel, because we obviously know why without saying for people who haven't seen Endgame. But it's going to be super interesting. I believe they said Rachel Weisz is in it. A lot of really awesome actors is going to go into her past about how she became a Black Widow, because apparently there are multiple Black Widows now, there were multiple
I heard
Black
a few people mentioning that they showed a clip of the movie there at Comic-Con, and they were the girl Rachel Weisz, her character, and then we're fighting, and I believe they have Taskmaster in this as well.
Correct, they did reference that.
There's a few really cool things for them to be chucking in this, and supposedly Budapest is something that was mentioned. I don't know for sure, but how many times that's been mentioned in the Avengers movies? I mean,
I would not be surprised if they make that a thing and tie it in, because not to jump ahead of ourselves, but they did also announce a Hawkeye series on the Disney Plus. But anyway, the next thing in chronological order of fall of 2020 on the Disney Plus streaming service is going to be Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Which is weird, because that's the one that was more recently announced, and WandaVision and Loki are farther down the line. But it's cool to see that they're going right into this new Captain America thing.
And then this seems like that's what that's totally going to be about, is the Falcon kind of learning to take the mantle of Captain America. Winter Soldier, a.k.a. Bucky, helping his frenemy to learn how to take up Captain America's shield, which is not an easy thing to do. Next is going to be the movie The Eternals.
Scroll down with the on the thing, since it there you are right there.
Yeah,
Eternals.
Movie of The Eternals, which they did announce that they're going to have Kumail Nanjiani and a lot of people in it as well.
Interesting. Kumail Nanjiani in a Marvel movie, and he's playing, I believe, a samurai style Eternal, and like who runs his own shop or something. They
have
now.
Angelina Jolie, and it seems like it's going to be a very interesting kind of abstract sort of thing, with maybe a lot of godlike things brought into it. So we'll see what shakes out. I'm not personally familiar with the Eternals, but it still looks interesting. Yeah. And that's November of 2020, so it's not that far away.
No, not at all.
To go up, keeping with chronological, they have Shang-Chi, which is, I believe, going to be that's Marvel Studios. That's February 2021. Yeah. And the rumor
See if
has
it's,
it that they're going to bring in
There you
the
go.
Mandarin in that. They're going to have the actual Mandarin as some sort of villain in that. So that'll be very interesting.
Up a little bit. It's the title, the words above it.
Oh, there we
Right
go.
there,
Sorry
you
about that.
Shang-Chi. Yeah,
And-
apparently they have some really good like Chinese actors and directors. They're trying to stay like loyal to the kind of movie it's
Yeah,
gonna be.
well, and they're-
it's pretty interesting.
I'm wondering, they keep referencing the 10 rings. I'm wondering if it's going to be the Iron Man 1,
Yeah.
like, rebel sect, military cult sect, or if it's going to be the actual, literally, Mandarin's quest
No, it's
to get the
supposed
10
be
rings of
Mandarins.
power.
Yeah, no, there's one of the actors that they hired is gonna be Mandarin.
Yeah.
See right there, and Tony Leung as the real Mandarin.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah,
Because I
so
know
they're
they said they
digging
were.
into that.
I know
and-
they said they were going to put the Mandarin in it. I just didn't know if they were going to do that
Yep.
particular story.
I think this is awesome because it can tie into a lot more stuff, and it's great to see.
I would have liked to see Iron Man at some point, though, fight the Mandarin, but maybe that could be a halfway decent excuse in later movies to bring him back from another universe, because it's Marvel. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, and then we got WandaVision up next in chronological order.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be
up-
spring 2021.
Up a little bit. The word.
Sorry.
Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, so they're bringing back everybody to reprise their roles, and then Kevin Feige revealed would be playing the adult Monica Rambeau, who's co-starring Tiana Paris.
Oh, that was
I'm not
the
familiar
young
with Monica Rambeau.
That was the woman from Captain Marvel, her African American friend, I believe.
Oh yes, the
pilot?
younger one. The
Yes,
younger one, I
yes.
believe. The girl's supposed to be. I did hear something about this. The girl's supposed to be becoming. Yeah, it says who was introduced
in the
Captain Marvel.
comics when Captain Marvel, I believe, is gone for a while or missing or something. I'm not 100% on that. The daughter, her daughter, ends up becoming like Pulsar or Phasar or something like that.
I think it's Pulsar. I think you're right. I was thinking the same thing. So that's cool. That's spring of 2021. And then we got Loki is coming right around the same time. And that's going to be coming off of what happened in Endgame. If you haven't seen it, sorry. But when he gets the cube, and
the universes are kind of merging together in interesting
I'm hoping
ways.
that's what we're getting here. And I had a theory earlier with a movie that's coming up and what we're going to mention is Thor, the new Thor movie. I have a feeling that this series will tie into that, and your theory is nice, a little mix in there, where it could be the alternate timelines or alternate realities that were basically created in all of this nonsense.
Let's
in
get
Endgame.
through the list, and then we'll start talking about some theories, because that'll be interesting.
Well, this too, which I think is super interesting. I think the series
They've-
of WandaVision will also tie into this Doctor Strange movie because she is supposed to be in it. Scarlet Witch is going to be in this.
And that always was one of the rumors, is the Scarlet Witch could eventually, in a later phase, lead to the introduction of the mutants and the X-Men, because depending upon what
Yes.
version of canon you're talking about, Magneto is her father and was Quicksilver's father. So
Should
it will be very interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, and it's pretty cool that it's called that we got Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And so it's him being inside the Multiverse of Madness, and I'm thinking due to the red lettering that it's going to be Scarlet Witch's multiverse.
It could also be him
Her causing it.
him going insane, realizing that the timelines are wrong, that things are crossing that shouldn't necessarily cross. Because as I previously stated when I was talking to Eric, if you haven't seen Endgame, you might want to just skip ahead like 30 seconds.
If you haven't seen Endgame, then you shouldn't be watching these.
We're pre-warning. We're pre-announcing spoilers. That a lot of the Avenger heroes didn't exactly fix their timeline. They left their timeline to make another timeline better. They affected another reality, not their own. So it's interesting to see maybe from their old universe what happened after Thanos destroyed half of everything and then everybody left.
Yeah.
Because they more or less merged both of these two timelines. And you have everyone talking about, in Far From Home, the blip. So people have memory from before, but after, and they like kind of merge together everything. And it'll be interesting because Mjolnir's still out there. So for Jane Foster Thor, for Lady Thor, that's going to be interesting. In theory, there should still be some version of the Time Stone with Doctor Strange.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things. Anything technically, in theory, anything can happen
Or
here.
maybe his quest to get the time stone back.
Yeah,
Who
and
knows?
I think that's
Who
a
knows?
beautiful thing we're seeing about Phase 4 right now. We do have a lot of the same characters coming, but this is the big question too, is what if, and it's also like you can have anything start with Phase 4. They ended the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a way.
This is I don't think they ended it as much as they splintered it. They kind of broke it off into a bunch of streams.
Well, Kevin Feige did mention that specifically
And
in an
this
interview I
is-
saw on him in IGN. He said that was set up very much as an ending, and this is setting up very new beginnings.
And this is one of the smartest moves they could have done with the What If. Because if they introduce the What If timelines, because they do have a run of comics that are the kind of one-shots off to the universe weird side of What If, the biggest thing they could introduce would be Marvel Zombies. If you have a zombie Marvel movie, it could be crazy with heroes or villains in zombified form, or even some of like the what ifs of like.
But these are gonna be it's an animated series. So
They-
we're not gonna see a movie. We're gonna see an episode at a time.
Well, it's
of
Marvel
different-
Studios. That's going to be a movie.
It says the first animated series in the MCU, with voiced by Jeffrey Wright of The Watcher.
Oh, that's the first one
Voice
though.
of the
But I'm
Watcher.
saying if they're doing what ifs, they could do a what if movie.
Oh, they could, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And I think a lot of this Disney Plus stuff's gonna tie into a lot of movies, and like based off the success of them, especially.
Sure. So scrolling down a little bit more, we got the Hawkeye series that we mentioned that's going to be coming from the Disney Plus in fall of 2021, which, yes, we know that's roughly 2 years away. It'll be very cool. It's supposed to introduce Kate Bishop, which is someone that kind of takes the Hawkeye mantle from a Hawkeye that maybe doesn't feel he deserves to be Hawkeye because he's got red in his ledger, as Black Widow would say.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. And then the big news that I think everyone's been fixating on is Natalie Portman will return to the MCU and reprise her role as
Very interesting.
Jane Foster and be Jane Foster Thor. So not to ruin a lot of story bits, but it's going to be some powerful stuff. It's going to be interesting with Taika Waititi kind of taking some lighthearted approach to some stuff and some serious approach to some stuff. And yeah, it looks like it's going to have Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson in as well. So that's going to be super, super interesting to see that dynamic.
Yeah.
But
Very much so. I'm very excited for the Thor Love and Thunder movie. Like, that's going to be awesome because the way that they're tying in, like I said before, I think they're tying in the Loki TV series, and they're going to be tying in what we all want to be as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And
well,
with another Thor story, as you mentioned, him in space with the Stormbreaker, and then we got her with Mjolnir on Earth, and then in what reality we don't know, and then also Loki in what reality we don't know.
Well,
there's 3 members of that like triangle, and they're all in different areas. It should be interesting.
I think there's going to be a second Thor in play. I think we're going to have
yeah.
old Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy because they even said they're not doing that in this phase. So that could be a very interesting thing for the future. But I think in this particular movie, it's probably going to be a younger, more fit Thor because they've already established that when he went back to Thor 2 in Endgame, that Mjolnir was still there. So the hammer's still around. I think it's going to belong to the younger Thor who...
Hold on.
What I mean?
What if Loki actually kills Thor?
That's very possible.
The old version of Thor. That'd be very interesting.
Or even young version of Thor, because eventually there might only be...
Well, I meant the older version.
There might only be
long time
one,
ago.
or they could even get into what I always thought they were going to do when they teased it in Ragnarok Thor, Beta Ray Bill, the alien version of Thor.
Into either the series or the new movie with Love and Thunder. And it should be... I don't know. The title being Love and Thunder, I believe... Thor has to be in there somewhere.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
It said in the
that he's in
caption that him and Tessa Thompson
are gonna be back.
The Valkyrie are in it, so it's going to be the 3 of them in that movie, and then the guy who directed Ragnarok and all that is going to direct.
So maybe
Taika
the
Waititi.
Guardians will be in this movie.
Maybe we'll get a cameo. Who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe we'll
But
bring that in.
to
So
wrap-
that's interesting.
To wrap up the news, we have Marsha Ali playing Blade. Now, this one doesn't have a date.
Awesome.
This is gonna
I'm
be-
so surprised they even announced this yet. I guess because they're so excited about it.
Well, it's going to be a huge movie for him personally, and plus they're getting another Academy Award winning actor. Like, he's a super, super big actor. So that'll be real awesome. But it also ties into that, like, Doctor Strange supernatural vibe they've been trying to set up.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Morbius maybe introduced in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of things they can do with this and tie it into the universe. They didn't say whether or not it would be. They didn't even touch on who's doing the movie. They said they don't even have a director yet. They don't
It's
have any of this.
super early stages, but I think the fact that they just got Marsha Ali to sign on.
I was going to say, Kevin Feige literally, and I quote, Marsha Ali because of Blade, and Blade because of Marsha Ali. He said that it was all him that wanted this movie.
Sure. I personally wouldn't be surprised that maybe if they throw Wesley Snipes like a nod and have him be like the old like weaponsmith guy that helps Blade like out.
That'd be weird.
Or, like,
that'd be so weird.
It would be, but it also I think would be them just acknowledging the other movies because Wesley Snipes was Blade for 3 movies. It wasn't a little bit of time.
He kind of helped push this in the direction it's in
so
today.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they get a small cameo out of him the way they did like maybe some of the Howard the Duck stuff.
It'd be cool if they made him like a returning small character in the background kind of thing.
Like not obviously they wouldn't name him as anything, but I think they should just throw him in the movie somewhere. But that's pretty much it for all the Marvel news.
God, that's awesome. I like about this whole phase, man. Everyone's been dying to hear what's gonna happen, and Far From Home just came out, and people are waiting, and for us to get it this soon is awesome. So that means they're already rolling things down the pipeline and fast.
One of the things I'm interested in is if you've noticed there was no real Spider-Man news of any sort. So I think they're going to be having to make another deal with Sony or work something out because I think Homecoming and Far From Home were both so successful that he's way too big of a popular character to have in the universe not to have him doing something somewhere. I know the actor is probably going to be doing some other projects for a while, but like you never know, man. You know, everybody wants Spider-Man, so it would not surprise me at all if they have another Spider-Man movie, maybe sometime after 2021, because it seems everything is booked out through there now, and they're bringing a lot of stuff to the Disney streaming service.
Yeah, and it's so exciting. Like as soon as that streaming service comes around, it's going right on the card. I'm hitting that immediately. Absolutely. And I can't wait to see this thing.
We'll work something out.
I can't wait to see certain things that are going to be coming to that. And like that, not just Marvel. We got so much Star Wars stuff planned. I know. So many, even Disney movies are going to be awesome to have. Yeah. Like, it's great. We got, there's Disney's making big power moves over there. And it's great to see them straight. Full throttle on Marvel. Yeah, absolutely. And to give Kevin Feige a little more power to say things like, oh, you want to do a Blade movie? Let's make this happen.
And I was reading an article, I believe it was from Forbes or something of the such, that for their $4 billion Marvel purchase, Disney has made $18 billion. So that's arguably one of the best business investments ever made. Like, they more or less bought a generation's worth of stories to reinvigorate, reinterpret, and give to a whole new generation. Yeah. So it was a super, super savvy business move, and if you owned some Disney stock before the Marvel purchase, you made yourself a very large amount of money.
And for someone like Stan Lee to go, oh, wow, Disney. Of all the people that would want to buy my stuff, that seems like the right decision to go.
Sure, and not only that, but he had some problems with some business decisions in the past, as we've discussed. You know, the Universal deal where they sold off like Fantastic Four and Hulk, and they made individual deals. That's why Sony owns Spider-Man to this day, and they keep making Spider-Man movies whether Marvel wants it or not.
Well, that pretty much wraps it up for the Marvel stuff. Yeah. I'm sure you guys have heard plenty about it already, but we needed to get into that a little bit and let you guys know how excited we are for that. I'm sure we're going to be doing maybe some kind of show on the Marvel stuff in the future, like doing some kind of breakdowns or reviews or something of the sort, because we all know how much we love those Marvel movies.
So bringing it back to some gaming,
some news, and it's been going around lately. Not some great news
so
either.
Nintendo has kind of acknowledged the Joy-Con drift is a thing that the Joy-Cons wear. There's multiple YouTube videos out there for people taking apart their Joy-Cons and kind of illustrating some of the where it's wearing, kind of why it's wearing. In doing so, as Nintendo has quoted in their press release, make people happy. They are just automatically accepting Joy-Con repairs if you have Joy-Con drift. So if you have an older Switch or a launch Switch like myself, I experienced it about a year in, give or take.
Yeah.
And definitely something to check out. To make that a little bit easier, we've kind of pulled up just some pages to get people aware.
Help explain.
Nintendo.com/consumer/index.jsp is their overall link for kind of their Nintendo customer support.
Yeah, if you're having any issues, especially with the Joy-Con drift, they've announced because they're being sued, I believe, in a class action lawsuit because of it.
They're exploring a class action lawsuit, and I think that's one of the reasons that Nintendo decided to get in front of this, which was a very smart decision. Is, hey, we don't want any problems. We want happy customers. We want people to keep continuing to buy our things. Let's just exchange these out and fix them. And more importantly,
yes, they did it right away.
What I think they did to avoid any kind of legal implications is, if you have previously paid to have Joy-Cons repaired due to a drift issue, contact Nintendo customer support and they will refund the money that you paid, which I think that's really awesome that they're retroactively
it's crazy
refunding
that
people.
They have to be able to do this at all, though. I mean, we get it, it's messed up. Like, if you knew that and you knew for all this time that it was messed up, you should have at least tried to do something about it a little sooner. Do some kind of revision, do some kind of, like, it takes someone threatening a class action lawsuit.
Agree with you, but in the same token, I think we've all tried Switch controllers. We know they're kind of very they feel fragile. They're not as durable as maybe some of the other brand controllers. And that's one of those things that they have to fess up to. And at this point, they're moving so fast with so much steam in terms of sales of games and consoles.
They're a little preoccupied.
They're preoccupied, A, and B, they do not want to get bogged down by little stuff like this.
No.
You don't want the little death by 1,000 PR cuts of Reddit, people freaking out about Joy-Cons. Yeah. So I think this is really awesome. I know I'm going to take advantage of this and send in my right Joy-Con that worn. So shout out to that.
Yeah, that's very true. And if you guys want, like, it's such a small issue. It has to do with the chip in the actual Switch. There's a guy, Spawn Wave, I believe his name is, that did a video breaking that down to show what was wrong with it. So if you have rough hands, just be careful with the Switch, because it doesn't have a great connector system set up in there.
It seems to be more common with the launch ones, the ones within the first year of production, as they were still, I'm sure, refining and making the process better. If you remember at launch, they had problems with the left Joy-Con disconnecting and not connecting frequently. So I'm not surprised that there's some other wear and tear kind of issue that they're stumbling across. They've made revisions to the system, so you know how it is. That being said, you are going to need to have a Nintendo account to log in. You do want to register your Switch with that Nintendo account. They are going to need that information. Skipping over to the next link, they have just kind of a little troubleshoot with a QA to use the internal Joy-Con app to try and reconfigure, because sometimes they think the configuring might be wrong, which I suppose is a good thing to try first, but if your kind of Joy-Con is drifting, you kind of can figure it out real easy.
When you see it, it literally will just drop to whatever side you're drifting on, and you're screwed.
This is a solution for some people, but it is often a temporary solution. So being that Nintendo is repairing those Joy-Cons and swapping them out right now, if your Joy-Con is drifting, I would highly recommend you take advantage of this while you can. Also, that they've announced that they've done this, I'm assuming a lot of people are going to be taking advantage of this.
Yeah.
So get it in fast if you'd like to get your Joy-Con back fast.
Fix soon, yeah. You need to get it in now.
I myself had to buy another set of controllers to replace the drifting Joy-Con one already, so honestly, given this news, this really just gives me an extra backup controller again. So I'm glad to hear that. Clicking over to the final link, the process, if the reconfiguring of your Joy-Con did not work for you, which it did not for me, you end up with your logged in account having to submit a help desk ticket. You were contacted either by phone or email, I think primarily by phone, and you will be set up with information for shipping said Joy-Con. So please take advantage of it, guys. I don't know how long this is going to last with Nintendo, because they're probably going to get flooded with these. But yeah, that's primarily it. I just have to give Nintendo props for at least addressing the situation quickly and having it not be a thing.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely happy they got into it. I hope to see a revision of it, but it's kind of sad that has to happen on such a great little console, and I really hope it doesn't. This issue isn't concurrent in the Switch Lite. It'd be really sad to see something like that
I was just going to bring that up because with the Switch Lite being one solid piece of hardware, that if there is Joy-Con wear issues, the whole console would have to be taken apart and serviced. Whereas right now they're saying if you have Switch Joy-Con drift issues, you do not have to send in your console.
You just send in the Joy-Con.
The affected Joy-Con. If it's only the right, then left, left-wise.
Makes it easier. So there's just if you need any repairs, get it in there while you can. I'm sure you guys have probably seen something on this already. It's been hot topic. Recently.
Keep that in mind because that's something that it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to end up maybe having some kind of revision to the Joy-Cons in a future version or an update that maybe has a different kind of joystick interface or something. Because they're not bad, but as I said, they just wear very easy. They feel a little bit fragile. Yeah. But that's pretty much it for...
Here, I forgot this. There you go. That your little thing from the Halo Outpost I had in my bag.
Halo Outpost dog tag swag.
And getting off this subject, what have you been playing lately, Chris? Before we get done with this podcast here, I want to know what's going on.
Sure. Myself personally, I've actually... a buddy of mine just picked up a new Xbox, so he got the 1S terabyte. And it came with the Division 2, so he has been loving that, and I've been running through that with him. Still early days. He's a very new gamer too, so it's awesome to get him into something like this. He played a lot of classic games. He played a lot of Super Nintendo, N64, PlayStation 1, stuff like that. But being a mid-30s gamer, you don't necessarily have the time to get into a lot of games.
But it's awesome to see him getting into this new generation. He's a very old school guy.
And the Division 2, I think if you're going to get caught by one of those live services games, that's the one to get caught by.
Yeah.
It has the most content, it has the most active user base, and it's personally just one of my fantastic favorite games. It's hard to think that game only came out in March. It feels like it came out over a year ago because there's just so much to do in that game.
Yeah, very much.
Super hyped for that. Outside of that, I've still been playing a little bit of Fortnite here and there. The season's getting ready to come to an end. If you saw online, they recently just did an event where the giant Power Ranger style looking robot fought a monster that came out of the ocean and changed the map again. Mm-hmm. It was a cool event. It was awesome. They really seem to be enjoying doing these multi-server live events where it has a countdown time, and on like a weekend day typically something big happens, and it's like a live change to the map. It keeps the game fresh, and I think it keeps people engaged to a certain extent, because some people click with certain seasons and some people don't click with others. It's a good way to keep bringing people back in the constant grind of Fortnite.
Yeah, so you've been enjoying it.
Yeah, that
gotcha.
And every once in a while I've been popping into the Gears 5 tech tests.
Oh yeah, how is that?
That feels buttery for a early game tech test, or often as it's referred to as beta. It feels very smooth. The combat is super polished.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
I got in and only did a limited number of matches with some of the 5v5 content, but it was smooth, and it was Gears. It felt like Gears. I'm not a super Gears fan, but I always play through the campaigns, and definitely gonna be playing this one again.
Yeah,
I like some of the swap off things that they've done with weapons and stuff. It feels real natural.
Yeah,
so
they said they changed from the bloom style to more of like an actual recoil style in the gunplay.
Correct.
So that's pretty interesting to see in a Gears game, because I'm so used to that bloom style.
And
play.
It feels like that is meant to enable some longer distance combat, which that'll be interesting in a game like Gears, where you're often want to chainsaw somebody.
Yeah, or shoddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's basically it.
But that was fun, and that was part of Game Pass Ultimate. You just get in there and have that for free. They seem to be setting up the Game Pass Ultimate as like just the high tier super perked plus card of Xbox. Like they almost want it to be like your super reward system. You're so special. Here's your black card for Xbox kind of thing.
I know. They always did like to do that kind of stuff.
Hey,
Xbox
man, it's cool by me. It keeps giving me free stuff.
Yeah, I'm all about free stuff.
So what about you, other than Marvel Ultimate Alliance?
I was gonna say, obviously a ton of Marvel Ultimate Alliance as of recently. I just recently, as of I think middle of last week, I beat Crash Team Racing Nitro Field. I beat the base story. There's a lot of new content in that, though. They dropped the Grand Prix mode and a bunch of other stuff. and it's like a lot more unlockable characters and different like leaderboards, and to get like if you hit like at the top numbers in the leaderboards, you'll get a free car, and like
that's cool.
There's almost like a battle pass-esque thing going on there, but they're with the way that it's like you complete these challenges, you level up faster, you complete races. But you don't pay for it. It's completely free, and then they completely give you a ton of stuff, and that's pretty cool.
So going back to your other game real quick, something that I forgot to mention earlier, Marvel Ultimate Alliance felt great, but I really want Nintendo to have some kind of achievement system or point system or something.
Yeah, you did say you wanted that, something like that. I know. I feel you.
Like Greg Miller called it out and kind of funny. He's like, I want to platinum this game. I wish I could platinum this game. Yeah,
he did say that.
That's the highest compliment
That's what I liked about the recent release of Cuphead. They brought the achievements over from
it's only in-game
Microsoft.
Achievement. There's no systems.
Yeah, but it is cool to have stuff like that. And there's a few games that do that, but it'd be really nice.
Nintendo needs to bust out like some kind of like, not even like a trophy system, but something like, oh, you got a mushroom award, or you got a fire flower award. You got the hard one. You got the glowing star.
Yeah, right. Like that'd be cool to have something like, and it wouldn't be hard for them to do.
I know they're more of a budget online ecosystem, it only being $20 a year or whatever. But as part of the cloud saves, you would assume they would want that kind of track score, that engagement thing that is so successful on so many other systems.
I think it's coming eventually.
Steam has achievements, for God's sake.
We can't have hope in anything Switch does. It doesn't have real voice chat.
Well, and that was one of the things.
Come on, we got to get voice chat before we get achievements. So let's focus on one thing at a time.
A lot of the games wouldn't have voice chat if it wasn't for Fortnite coming to that platform, because they had to develop the API for voice chat to work.
And they love to give away their stuff. They're all about that over at the Unreal Engine people.
Speaking of Epic, that's another store that doesn't have achievements yet, which, although I'm quite sure they'll be coming in the not too distant future.
Of course. There's a ton of stuff like that.
It really just begs the question when Nintendo's going to try and catch up with their online ecosystem. It feels like, honestly,
that's a whole nother conversation, man. It's not getting into that.
It feels like they're 10 years behind. That's all I'm saying. It feels like they're running that 2009 internet.
Yeah. Well, but as for what I've been playing, I mean, like I said, a ton of Ultimate Alliance, just beat Crash Team Racing. I've been trying to grind out a little bit of the Apex challenges. I can't get into it too much because it's one of those games when you play, you need to play to have that constant groove and to keep getting wins. And if I slow down, then it's like, I guess I'll get a couple challenges done in the Battle Pass. Yeah. And it's like I want to either play every day, like at least an hour or two a day, or
not
barely at all.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm stuck in that right now where I really want to play it, but it's like I have so much other things to get into.
Yeah, so. I tried hopping into Fallout 76 again for a little bit, and they had another update that broke the game again, and now power armor doesn't show up right and all kinds of stuff. So I was like, well, time to put this down again.
Not another one.
Come back in 30 days.
Every time you touch it, it dies, and then you're like, I want to play it, but I can't.
It's like a sad, scared, broken puppy. I want to help it and play with it, but it just keeps pooping.
Such a sad puppy.
I know. I know.
So you getting into anything else other than The Division, really? You been digging that?
The Division's been my main pastime. I've been putting in a lot of hours at work, unfortunately, but The Division's been my main game as of late.
Gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah, right. Gotta hustle and flow.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I think that about covers it for us.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, I know. We'll be getting into a lot more stuff soon. There's a ton of games coming out, so I know we got to get in whatever we got now while we can.
Yeah,
that means you guys too. All these great games are coming. Holidays right around the corner.
I'm gonna try and take advantage of the next month or so and knock out some piles from my list of shame. Yeah. I think maybe we'll be talking about our list of shame on the next podcast, because that's something we need to focus on.
Not a bad idea. I know we all got one. The games that we buy and buy and buy, but only play 10-15% of,
or not even at all, because I have games I bought unopened.
You have a problem.
No, man, it's that collectible thing. I needs it.
Yeah, for real. All right, guys.
Also keep an eye out for our short little video on Halo Outpost Discovery. We'll probably put something out there just to highlight clip video, maybe a little bit of light voiceover about what we're saying. But keep an eye out for that, and thanks for listening to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, you guys have a great one, and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. We're going to be putting up stuff every week and all the time.
Yeah, feel free to comment on anything you like. If you want to see something, we'd love to play some different style of games, so toss out some ideas.
Yep, and you guys have a great one, and as always,
keep on gaming, guys.
Peace out.